Hi, this is Jack,
And this is Shannon.
and we're having conversations that push the edges and depths of our understanding of faith and discipleship.
Conversations that push us to grab a second cup of whatever beverage we're drinking. Each episode, we will be exploring a different question together. Questions like,
Is there a difference between being a good person and being Christ-like?
what does it mean to be religious?
What happens when we die, and why does it matter?
Do you have to be religious to live a good life? Maybe you have a question you'd like us to explore. Feel free to send it to us, and you can email me at smcadam@seaofchrist.org. That's smcadam at cofchrist.org. Well, today, Jack and I thought we might answer, well, not answer. Do we ever answer? No. Discuss, walk around another question from our intro, which is, do you have to be religious to live a good life? Do you have to be religious to live a good life? This is like a yes or no question, but I feel like it doesn't have a yes or no answer.
Right, yeah. I think it kind of depends also on, well, I mean, everything depends on the person, and everything's nuanced. But I do think like this question is very different for like someone who's probably Buddhist versus someone who is Protestant versus someone who's Catholic versus someone who's agnostic and atheist. Like I do think like the answer dramatically changes depending on the faith there or lack thereof of a person.
And it
Um,
really, I mean, inside this question is the question, what does it mean to live a good life? Like, what does a good
right,
life even look like or mean or sound like?
right,
Um, because I guess if you could answer that question, then perhaps the answer, do you have to be religious to do that, would
right.
present itself.
My like a thing that I wrote down very briefly right before we started was what does spirituality means in regards to all of this?
Mm,
Um, 'Cause I think if if to be if to live a good life requires a form of spiritual, like let's for a thought experiment, let's say it does require a form of spirituality. I think that would then lead into like to be religious. It could lead into it. But if there is no necessary reason to be spiritual to live a good life, then I think you create more of a binary, potentially. If that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't.
and it kind of, I don't know, I feel like the question spiral lady, because it's like, so then what does it mean to be spiritual? Or
Right, yeah.
what does that even mean? If spirituality is important to living a good life, what
Yeah.
does what is spirituality?
Yeah. Well, I guess, okay, for you, what would you say are, and this is I'm almost maybe an impossible question, but if you could pick 3 to 5 things or characteristics or experiences or traits that will lead what you believe is a good life to be a good life, what would those traits and experiences or characteristics be?
So just earlier today, I was writing a reflection on a
Yeah.
scripture, um, and talking about a time just recently where I was in a car in a busy city and we were driving down, we were stopped at a stoplight. I was in the back seat, and this person on like comes out into traffic and is like knocking on windows and holding out
Yeah.
their hand to like
Mm.
clearly asking for money. And the first thing that went through my head was, oh no, I hope he doesn't knock on my window.
Sure, sure, sure. Fair.
Like most human, I think, response. I'm in
Yeah.
a foreign country. Yes, I'm in a car with other people, but there was like a
Yeah.
level of vulnerability there. And so And of course, the very next thought was like, I'm a horrible person for
Right. Sure.
thinking, oh
Sure.
no, I hope they don't knock on my window.
Yeah.
And it's that moment where you're like, does the fact that I had that thought, oh no, I hope they don't knock on my window, does that make me a bad person for just
Yeah.
thinking that?
Sure.
So, where I like to think about that, so I don't think that makes me a bad person. I don't think that would make anybody a bad person automatically. And the reason is because I noticed it, right? Like I
Right.
didn't unconsciously have that thought and that reaction.
Mhm. Yeah.
A part of my self or my mind, or I don't know, we could get really kind of ethereal in this and say, well, who's doing the thinking?
Right. Oh,
Where
for sure,
is the
sure. Yeah.
self? But that's another story for today.
Materialist versus not. Yeah.
Um, but the fact that I woke up in that moment and I
Mhm.
noticed, oh, I had a really
Unfortunate.
unkind
Yeah.
response to this
Sure.
was going on. And the interesting thing is, the person came to our car, looked in the car, and did not knock on our windows, moved on to the next one and knocked.
Huh. Interesting.
Um, which was interesting. I don't see
They're
it
like,
as
you
like
guys
a
don't have money.
sign or anything. I'm just saying that's
Yeah.
just what happened.
Right.
Um, and I had no cash to like give them, even maybe that's part of
Right.
my discomfort. Um, so I think what if I would say that in that instance I was a good person, it was because I noticed. And then I
Mm.
think me having the I don't know, I don't want to make it look like I'm perfect because I'm absolutely not. But like me being able to tell that story now and not kind of bury it in a shame bunker of
Right.
mind. And like, well, nobody ever has to know that that's what my reaction was. I think it's more helpful to other people if I can share that story and be like, hey, this was a
Yeah.
time when I did not have the best response, and this is how I thought about it, and this is how I'm processing it, and what happened, so
Mm.
that maybe next time I can wake up a little quicker and maybe choose a different response that is maybe more Christ-like or maybe more of a good person's response,
Right.
whatever that
Right.
might have been in that instance, instead of that just the, oh no, I hope they don't knock on my window. Oh no,
Right.
I'm a terrible person. And then, oh, thank goodness they didn't knock on my window.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Was what could be a different way to respond in the future. Um,
So I'm hearing like honesty and I'm hearing self-reflection.
oh, okay. Yes, yes. Thank
Yeah.
you for helping me name those things.
No, you're good. You're
Honesty,
good.
self-reflection. And
Yeah.
I think hmm, there's like there's something about the willingness to look at the
Mm.
world
Mm.
for what it is, or just to look at the world
Mm.
and not hide or ignore
Right.
other human beings or the planet.
Right. I think I don't know, I'm trying not to be too off on a tangent, so I hope I can bring this in,
Well, we'll do it
to
together.
a central point. Right, right, right. But it always bothers me when people make the argument of like, well, it's a dog eat dog world, or this is just what the real world is, like you're naive, or blah blah blah, right? Like it's like this is life and you have to accept it. But my thoughts are, well, if everyone feels that way, then it'll be that way. But if everyone, and of course, impossible. But if everyone, or maybe I'm part of the problem for saying it's impossible, but but if everyone was like, no, actually, I'm not going to believe it's a dog eat dog world. I'm not interested in that mindset. I don't view people that way. I feel like everything could dramatically change. And it could be fairly quickly. But of course, you have to change everyone's mind. And I have yet to see that be possible.
So, Jack, you have like
Yeah.
intuitively stumbled on something I just read a book about last summer. It's
Yeah.
this book called Humankind, like
Mm.
humankind, but human. And it's at trying to
Right. Yeah.
answer that fundamental question, like, are people fundamentally good and kind,
Mm,
or are we
yeah.
fundamentally, like you described, dog eat dog, everyone out for themselves kind of
Right.
world? And the conclusion that this author came to by assessing like tons of different experiments and things that have been done is that
Yeah.
it depends on what we're expected to do. So
Mm,
in these experiments, if the experimenters are expecting
yeah.
a like a poor outcome or poor behavior, and they kind of
Yeah.
are, and people are told that they're
Yeah.
expected for their behavior to be poor, it will be poor.
Right.
If they're told they're expected for their behavior to be good, and
Yeah.
they're like kind of that's kind of what's expected of them, they will be good. And so it was
Okay.
a really interesting book because the kind of the conclusion was, are we like inherently good? Well, it depends on like what's the story we're telling ourselves and
Right.
what are we expecting of each other? Because if we expect each other to be, have a
Yeah.
humanity and
Hmm.
like generosity and kindness, that is how we end up showing up for each other. It was a
Mm.
really interesting perspective. And it takes us back to that quote I think I shared a couple episodes ago that my theology teacher used to say, be careful how you see the world. It is that.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because, like, in conversations with other people, I was always, when people would say something like that, and I'm usually not so bold to say these thoughts out loud, unfortunately. Maybe more so now. But when I was, maybe more 22, 21, I would definitely be a little bit more internalized. But my thoughts were always that if your version of the situation is, oh, well, this is how it is, this is how it is, it allows you to be the quote unquote worst or a worse version of yourself. It
Oh,
allows you to be, it allows you to get away with whatever action that is not fair to others, but that doesn't matter because, blank, blank, blank is unfair. And so it would just drive me crazy.
it's
But I like
okay
how,
for me to
mhm,
behave poorly if I think it's a dog eat dog world and I just have to
right,
get out there and eat the dogs.
right, right, right. Political joke.
Sorry.
But
Apologies
no,
to
you're good.
dogs.
So I feel like what you're helping me also kind of not capitalize, but when you put things together, starts with a C. Oh well, when you to put something together is that part. So it's honesty, self reflection, and it kind of goes back to hope, like seeing the
Oh,
hope in others. Seeing so that would be a third one, as far as leading a good life. Yeah.
I had this in my old job. A colleague of mine had been my colleague for like, I think at that point it had been like 13 years or something.
Hmm.
We were paired up for an activity where you were supposed to ask the person a question, like to get to know them better. And we were like, this is funny because we've been working together for like 13 years. We know a lot
Right.
about each
Oh
other. What could
gosh,
we even ask?
13 years. Jeez, yeah.
Anyway, I forget what I asked him. He's really creative, so it's probably about creativity. But he asked me, he's
Yeah.
like, Shannon, I've worked with you for so long, and you have this ability to just like always see the good in people. And he's like,
Mm,
where does that even come from? He's like, I'm guessing it has something to do with your faith, but I've never heard you really talk much about your faith. So I don't know if that's where it comes
mm.
from. And it was like, oh, probably that because I've
Yeah.
been taught to believe in the worth of every person,
Mhm,
in like the
mhm.
goodness in every person. And I take that seriously to the point where
Right. Yeah.
I, yeah, I just as try to assume some days it's easier than others that we are all just out here doing our best because most of the time we are, and most people
Mhm.
really are. And it often is
Right.
due to circumstances or
Yes.
like how many times I'm like, why is this customer so angry at me? And then it turns out like their dog died that morning,
Right.
or like they just got
Yeah.
notice of eviction on their home, or like
Mhm.
there's like things that are you just don't know what's happening for people. And if I
Right.
assume it's something to do with me, or or if I respond unkindly
Right.
to their
Yeah.
unkindness, it just
Right.
makes this like infinite loop of unkindness that's not fun to get out of.
Sure, yeah. I I think about how I'm afraid I mentioned this. Everything is a blur, so
Okay.
apologies if I have mentioned this. I had a boss one time tell me we were dealing with it was for a pool. I was a lifeguard, and there was this customer who was always complaining
Mm.
about the temperature, the people in the pool, the lifeguards themselves, like the lights, like everything was a complaint, everything was a problem. So just in through one ear and out the other. After a while, it's just like whatever, nothing can please you. And she was always able to have a really good conversation with that patron, and I always was so almost dumbfounded. Like I'm like, how is she so relaxed with you? And she said this to me, and it has stuck with me, and it will forever stick with me. But it was that some people had to have fought and fight for everything their whole life, or at least that's their mentality. And sometimes it's true, and sometimes it might be projected upon. But either way, in their mind, whether real or not, they are having to fight for everything. So at this point, 40 years go by, 50 years go by, it's almost impossible to not feel like you are still fighting if that's all you've ever done.
Wow.
So being able to look past that and being able to see more of like, for what it really is, as you mentioned before, and be able to see like, okay, I see you. I see that you have yet to find peace. And being like, okay, I'm going to interact with someone who has never found peace before and adjust that mental capacity. And, this is for like customer service and stuff, but it can go to like all kinds of other situations in life experiences. But I don't know
I
exactly a nice pungent word to put that in for our traits, but whatever that is.
Did we have kindness on the list already?
No, but it kind of feels like it should be all that.
I would even venture to say compassion.
Compassion,
I think
empathy.
that also describes what you're, and honestly, Jack,
Yeah.
I think so. Both my husband and I have had to work in customer service and retail.
Oh
Had to. That's been part of our,
yeah.
career journeys in life.
Yeah.
Everybody should have to. Everybody, because you you have to
Yeah.
learn how to deal with all sorts of quirky types of folks. And
Mhm.
yeah, I was I had to deal with a difficult situation in this new job. And someone's like, wow, you handled yourself really well. I was like, well, they weren't like throwing their phone at me and angrily yelling because it wasn't working. So as long as that's not happening, I'm cool. I can deal with this. And
Right.
you
Right.
know,
There's no flood
uh,
of violence here.
there's no threat of violence. And
Uh,
ultimately, and maybe this is okay, so thought experiment
yeah.
time. One of the things I don't know that I'm really proud that I had this thought, but we're just gonna say it anyway in the interest of vulnerability and sharing. Um,
Yeah.
I was
Honesty.
like, well, and at least in this job, I can tell people, was that really a Christ-like response? Which
Yes.
in, because you know this, you've worked with the public. It's
Yeah.
not something you're gonna
Or
say at the
every
pool
day.
to the older lady that's complaining about, whatever. You're not gonna say, well, but at least in the church, I have that to hold
Right.
people accountable to, which in
That's
some
so
ways makes it easier.
bad. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I don't know if that's a tick in the column of you do have to be just to be a good.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think you have to be religious to live a good life. Let's just say that.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
the
I
answer to
think it
this
kind of goes.
question
Yeah.
um, is no, but it does make it sometimes a little bit easier to hold people accountable for
Gotta
their
help you
behavior
accountable.
when we
That
have
is
some shared agreement on what good behavior looks like.
yeah, because if you go back and going back to what the expectations are,
Hmm.
If the expectations are love thy neighbor as thy brother and all those, wonderful, truly just like wonderful things, it is easy to be like, what? Let's take a step back here. That's so interesting. That is really interesting. It's not at all the same, but there is a very much a connection. I went from working as well, you may not know, but as an after school care counselor. That was my first job out of college. So just working from with kids that are pre-K to fifth grade. It was a low socioeconomic area. There was all kinds of crazy situations, and it was very eye-opening in a lot of ways because I definitely grew up sheltered in ways that I didn't realize, and things that I probably didn't really feel or understand at 20, like, until I turned 22 and had that job. There was 4 and 5 year olds having to deal with that, and that was their daily life. So it was
Wow.
very much like, oh, I've been protected. Anyways, all that to say is that, when they're dealing with all these things, people, anyone, but, kids especially, they like to act out. They like to, there's a lot of frustration. And I could always be like, oh, you're in timeout. You're simply in timeout. But going to a job now that is like fully like customer service, Parks and Rec, very public facing, I cannot send anyone into timeout. But oh boy, would I love to. Would I love
Oh
to be like, I
man,
need you in that
you
corner for like
know,
5 minutes.
how,
So,
yeah,
yeah. So it's
maybe.
not, and I can't do it. Whereas you can say like, well, let's take a step back here. What are you thinking? What are you saying? How would that align to what you have already decided you want to be like? Whereas I cannot be like, okay, you need 5 minutes in a corner.
I mean, I do wish, man,
Yeah.
let's start a petition to bring in adult timeouts.
Adult time. Right, right,
And
right, right.
there's like a cozy corner. It's a comfortable chair. Maybe there's
Yeah.
noise canceling headphones and a snack. A snack. There's a snack,
Oh,
noise
absolutely.
canceling headphones, and a comfy chair. It's like, someone says something awful, you're like, there's a choice you have in this moment. We've got
Yeah.
this chair. There's a
Yeah. Yeah.
snack and some noise canceling headphones. I'm going to give you the option to spend
Right.
5 minutes there. It's a
Right.
choice you can choose. And then we're going to
Right.
come back to this
We're
conversation.
gonna come back. We're gonna circle back.
You don't have to, but I'm just
Right.
offering it as an option. Um, you know, there's days
Yeah.
I would take it. There's
Oh
days where I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna
I need
step
five.
the swim back. I just said
Yeah.
some things that I'm not proud of, and
Sure.
I'm
Sure.
gonna need to take a breath.
Yeah. I without getting too much into any actual details, because who knows? You never know.
Yep.
I did recently have a situation at work. Ooh, how do I want to word this? I had a situation at work. I was not there. I learned about this the day after. But one of my lead guards was getting messages on the walkie to respond to an event because until the actual first responders show up, me and my team are the first responders for the building.
Oh, wow, that's
Um,
mysterious.
it is very there's a lot of gravity involved in that uh,
Responsibility.
responsibility. Thank you. Yeah, I was going to say in my job description. um, but yeah, so again, I wasn't there for this, but other people canceled the call to the lifeguards saying that they could handle it. And then the lifeguard found out later what the situations were, and no one called 911. And these are some really intense situations.
Mm.
And the idea of being like, oh, no, we're not going to do all that. We don't want to make it a big deal when it is without, I know I'm keeping it vague, but I have to keep it vague.
Yeah.
It is something like, think about something that, while is not a heart attack, is not, no one's having a stroke, but maybe take 2 levels down, and it is that.
Mm.
And no one's, and, the pain, it's not like the pain went away. It's not like the person returned to the activity. They're sidelined, and they're going to be sidelined for a long time. And
Mm.
the decision making was so that we don't have to record on any sort of, report that we call 911. And it was very frustrating. And I said a lot of things to my lifeguards and to my lead guard, just out in the open. And then instantly I was like, oh, that was not professional. I so all this to say, it's a very long-winded way of saying I would love that chair sometimes, but also, I think the idea of patience and just being able to walk away when it's like nothing can be done now. So there's no reason to harp over it now, in a sense. Like, accountability can still be done, but it's people above me, so it's not like I can technically hold people accountable in that sense, in a job sense. But it is kind of like, oh my gosh, like being able to, do what you can and being able to walk away. And there's a whole serenity prayer about that, but I think somewhere that could fit in to that as well.
Yeah, I'm hearing there's two sort of like qualities of good person that I'm thinking of based on what we just shared.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that one of them is actually like having grace for other people.
I would agree.
And for ourselves, which is to me what that chair is. It's like the grace chair.
It's the grace chair. Yeah.
It's the chair of second chances.
And second cups.
Yes. We were talking about, before we started recording, a mutual friend of ours who I did World Service Corps with in Detroit back in the day. World Service Corps being a church volunteer program for like mostly young adults, but some older adults too, back in the probably like late 90s, early 2000s. Anyway, and I went to Detroit, and we had this rule that for some behavior in that, like, we were below 8 Mile in Detroit, which is like the quote bad side of town. And there was sometimes bad behavior from the kids, probably similar to like your thing. Timeouts. We did give people like not exactly timeouts, but something similar. And there was times where we sent them home for the day. Like, you're done. But the rule was you can always come back tomorrow. Like there's another chance.
There's another chance.
So yes, I think grace should go on the list. Grace for ourselves and grace for other people.
Right.
The other thing I noticed in the story that you were telling about, your colleagues who maybe made a poor decision in a time, and they chose, I even wrote it down. They chose convenience over doing the right thing.
Ooh.
Or they chose comfort over doing the right thing.
Oh, gosh.
And I wonder if the mark of a good person is choosing to do the right thing over convenience or comfort.
Right. Not to get on another soapbox and not to talk ad nauseum. So I'll try to mentally quicken it. And this is very much almost a change of tone, so I apologize. And this is kind of a very serious, not kind of, this is an insanely serious situation. But I took one of my courses in college was romantic literature. But the professor I had just wanted to talk, or just wanted to not teach about, Whitman or anything. He's like, everyone talks about those people. We're going to talk about Black writers, African writers during the slave trade. Because it's of the same era. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the whole course was just about that. And one of the things, because we're learning about a lot of abolitionist movements too during the time and all that, and the writings of abolitionists during the time. Occasionally we go to a white author, but only in comparison to what they were saying about the abolitionist movements and slave trade compared to Black writers. All this is to say that one of the biggest things that I took away from that class was that the reason these institutions took so long to destroy or bring down and all these things is that it made people comfortable. And you have to fight against people's comfortability. And you have to take away that comfortability because, they had free labor. and now all of a sudden they have to pay for labor. So that means
Yep.
their own comfortability goes down. So obviously, I mean, I raised the stakes massively, and I apologize in some sense, but maybe not in others. But yeah, like I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head, where it's like to live a good life is to be okay, sacrificing comfortability in order for a better situation for others. Yeah, and that kind of leads into like living life in service for others. Which there's this one guy that might have done that.
I mean, yeah, there's a dude.
Yeah, there was a dude. It was a dude.
Other
Three, two,
person.
one. Buddha. No, I'm kidding.
Yes.
Yeah,
But no, I
Gandhi.
really do think this is, and if I were to, again, like
Yeah,
playing the, just the idea of in its ideal form, I
yeah,
think what being part of religious community, or maybe just
mm,
community in general,
yeah,
is that it makes it easier to make uncomfortable choices when you're surrounded
mm,
by other people who are also choosing the right thing over the
mm,
comfortable thing, right? People
yeah,
choosing to do the you know make the difficult choices, the
right,
uncomfortable, inconvenient choices because we're doing it together.
right,
And it's not just me feeling like I'm up against the world, but I
right,
have other people on the road with me
right,
who can say, like, gosh, that must have sucked that you had to make that choice. Or, like, I
right,
can see, like, the sacrifice you made in that, Jack, but
mm,
I'm really glad you did it because I know you did the right thing. And I
right,
hope that the next time I am struggling with
yeah,
comfort or convenience over doing the right thing, that I can call you and be like, hey, I need a pep talk. I need a pep
sure,
talk on choosing the right thing over being comfortable. And that
right,
in the best of who we can be as community, whether it's religious or otherwise, that's what we're
right.
doing for each other.
It's easier to go to a protest when there's millions or thousands of other people, at
Yes.
the protest versus like, oh, it's you and your friend and that's it. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's quite interesting. Hmm. Unfortunately, I do think it can go the other way. And I'm not just talking about religion. Like groups of people can either, build up, or groups of people can be like, well, we're all kind of making the bad choice.
Exactly. I mean, I think
Yeah.
this is what, oh, I'm gonna be my,
Yeah.
the socialist Canadian's gonna come out in me for a moment. This
That's
is
fine.
where like capitalism profits of
Yeah.
us thinking like,
Yeah.
oh, I just need oh, I can just order this delivered to my house instead of walking down to the corner
Mhm.
shop and buying it from the local business, which
Right.
benefits my community, but it's a little more inconvenient than having it show up at my door, right?
Right.
Like, but
Sure.
this
Yeah.
is what the narrative of the world is like, oh, don't you want convenience? Look at
Right.
all the time you'll get back because
Right.
we're going to deliver this to your door and you don't have to do anything. But what are we doing with that time we get back?
Well,
We're
that's
just
right.
scrolling more
Mhm.
ads. I don't know. There,
Yeah. Oh, ooh, yes. Yes. Yeah, no.
my true, oh, and I only
I
say it because I do it. There's times when I do
yeah,
it.
no,
There's times when
sure.
I don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll
I,
choose the comfort.
yeah. I just finished this book called Hex. It is a horror novel.
Oh, you love the
And
horror stuff, right?
I do love the horror. Um, uh, but long story short, it's without oh gosh, I don't want too much spoilers in case someone would actually want to read it based off of this, but maybe learning a little bit more might help because it doesn't really give you much of a description. But basically, it's in like a New York, a town outside of the Hudson River, New York, that area. It's a very idyllic looking town, modern day America. Well, in this time, it was written in 2013. So you are like, there's very much dated references to 2012 specifically. So it's modern ish day America, 2012. And this town has a witch, an actual witch. And they're trying to cover it up. They're trying to keep from anyone ever learning about the witch, because when you join the town and you join the curse, if you leave, bad things happen and you won't probably make it. So you have to stay in the town, and that is the rest of your life. And there's a whole other things I won't get all into, but there's it's a witch from the Salem witch trials. Like, it has that all connective tissue. All of this is to say that there's a part of the book, and again, being vague, but there's a part of the book where they are doing a vote on punishing someone who has violated the town's decree on how to handle the witch. And they violated it badly. And it's not like, oh, as the reader, you're going to be like on board for this violation. No, you're going to be like, this is terrible. Like, this, they did one of the worst things they could have done. And you would be like, no, this is horrendous. This is inhumane. And so, but they show how, if the mindset is like, well, they do two things. They do two votes. There's one vote. Are we going to do blank, which it would be also horrendous and would not fix the problem? Or do we do something else that is a little bit more of a humane type of punishment? And when everyone is raising their hands, it's 50-50, and the humane seems to have a little bit more of the edge. So, but it's not, it's, it's everyone just raised their hand. They're not counting. It's just based off of like an eye test. So then they do a written vote. And the ones that want the terrible punishment to happen far supersede the more humane punishment, because there is that expectation within that society to be a little fire and brimstone about things. So all of it, trying to rewind it back in, but all of it to say about, expectations and comfort, and the comfort of anonymity versus public facing, and I don't know, all of it in my mind, it's in there. Giving grades, all these things, yeah, it's all there.
It goes back to like the way, if you're choosing, like, kind of bring it all the way back to like choosing to be a good person or not.
Right. And
There's a
living a good life,
level of like accountability and expectation
right?
that
Yeah.
maybe helps us be better people when there
Mm,
is some kind of accountability we're held to for that, or there is a community that is holding us to those
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
expectations.
Yeah. So we got honesty for, things to live a good life: honesty, self-reflection, hope, kindness slash compassion, grace, you know, letting go of the convenience and the comfy for, helping others, doing what's right, quote unquote, which, is its own subjective term, but, we don't need to, we gotta, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think we kind of hit it all as far as, obviously, I don't think you need to be religious to have those. I will say one thing. I think there is, when it comes to spirituality, I wrote it at the very beginning of this conversation, and I haven't been able to wait to kind of plug it in. Slash, I got excited about other talking points.
But go for
But
it.
I do think, maybe I'll put it out there. Do you feel that there is a connection between the words spirituality and self-reflection?
Yes.
Okay.
I think spirituality in our contemporary culture has a couple of dangerous paths. One is when it gets tied up in capitalism and consumption, like
Sure.
to
Yeah.
buy the right things to be spiritual.
Gosh. Yeah.
To me, that's a red flag, is always like
Yeah.
true
Yeah.
spiritual knowledge should not be gate kept by a paywall.
Anybody. Yeah. Right. Right.
Um, the and the other one is there's this there's a line for me of being like self-reflective and being self-centered in a negative way.
Mm,
Because
yeah. Sure.
sometimes what I see from folks who would call themselves spiritual
Yeah.
is a real focus on their own personal flourishing and personal happiness and personal enlightenment
Right.
without the realization that they are dependent on, like, we're all dependent on other people
Mm,
for our
yeah.
well-being in the world.
Yeah.
And in, gosh, something we say in Community of Christ, in their welfare is my welfare. Um,
Mm, sure. Yeah.
and so not to say that self, because I do think, especially this, like the feminist side of me will come out a bit here, of women have
Sure.
often been told to like subjugate themselves, like
Mm,
make other people more important to themselves, to the detriment sometimes of their health and well-being.
right.
And
Yeah.
so I'm not saying that people shouldn't take care of themselves, but I think there is one kind of thread of, quote, spirituality that can sometimes go in a direction of putting um, ourselves at the center of the universe in an
Mm,
unhealthy way, which I think if we are truly self-reflective, we begin to uncover how our actions are affecting other people, how our words
right.
impact other people, and things like that. And not just sort of the navel gazing, for lack of a better word,
Sure. Yeah.
aspect of
Totally.
self-reflection. But I do
Yeah.
think, and this is where I would say there are spiritual practices and techniques that have helped
Mm,
people through like centuries, whether it's like kind of mindfulness, or self-compassion meditation that you find in the Buddhist tradition,
yeah.
contemplative prayer in the Christian tradition, even I think worship when we're like, let's say we're singing together or something like that. There's
Okay.
something about that practice that takes us out of ourselves a little bit and helps us realize
Yeah.
um, we're not in this alone. So, so maybe I would say like spirituality to the extent that it helps us remember that we're dependent on the planet and each other. And some of us would say on God, but I think that's negotiable for some folks.
I
Um,
think I'm sorry, when you say on God, the way you said it is like the slang term. Like I mean it on God. So I was like, what? He like I was like, wait, what's going on? And I'm
I've
like, oh
never
no,
heard
I
that
mean
slang
it.
term before. That's amazing.
That's, like I'm not lying on God.
Wow.
Sorry,
Okay.
but no, not to destabilize what your point was. It was great. It was great. I'm so sorry.
No, it's
That's my
okay.
Tourette brain in a sense where it's like I have to capitalize on that thought and I should just let it go. So sorry about
No, absolutely. Do not let it go. We totally have to go there every time. Yeah, there's things that we're dependent
that.
on, and whatever. I think this is where I have like a bit of I hold loosely to what it is, how we
Yeah.
name what we're dependent on, to acknowledge that we are not the center of the universe. There's so much going on.
Right.
But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you're not precious. Each one of us isn't like really rare and beautiful and precious.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really nice thing to say at the very end. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Well, I'm always so grateful for the rare preciousness of these conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks, Jack.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thanks to you, our listeners, for listening to this podcast. We hope you come back again for more ramblings and wonderings and walking around questions as we explore these ideas. And hopefully, we would still love to hear from you. What you're thinking? What are the questions on your mind? Um, yeah.
Awesome. Have a good one.
Bye.